crackers with a taste of real...
Rod Serling himself couldn't have come up with a stranger sequence of events. Gulf Breeze is a beautiful, affluent community of 6,000 on a peninsula near Pensacola, Florida. It is here, on a quiet residential street, that a person known to us only as Ed spotted a strange object floating above his house. November 11th, 1987. Ed snapped 5 photographs that day and changed his life forever. Over the next 7 months, he saw the object several times, shooting another 36 pictures with 3 different cameras. Witnesses include his wife and kids, family, friends, neighbors, and even city officials. 2 other people allegedly photographed the same object. Could it be a secret military device? Gulf Breeze is literally surrounded by military bases, but the public information officers disclaim official knowledge of any UFO. Now here's Ed's photograph of a UFO. Notice the strong blue beam that Ed claims first paralyzed him, then levitated him and dropped him. Clumsy aliens? This is the most famous of Ed's photographs, which he took weeks later through the windshield of his truck. The UFO hovers just 3 feet off the ground, its beam reflecting off the asphalt. Ed says he was partially paralyzed again, but escaped this time. This is Ed's home video, shot as he crouched in the bushes near his home. The UFO retraces its path, rotating as it travels through the same airspace. Notice how it goes behind the trees, in and out, reversing direction and coming back. Now, Ed is a respected family man, runs a successful business, and has shunned all publicity and declined to be on our show. What about it, Gulf Breeze? Is there really something going on down there, or is it all an elaborate hoax? Dwayne Cook is editor of the Gulf Breeze Sentinel. Donald Ware is a UFO investigator who claims to know of 153 first-hand witnesses who have seen the object. Jerry Brown is the chief of police in Gulf Breeze. Don, you're an ex-Air Force officer who's firmly convinced something extraterrestrial has been appearing in the skies above Gulf Breeze. What convinced you?
Mike, one couple had 22 encounters, including 18 separate photographic sessions in a 5.5-month period. And many independent witnesses, highly credible, also reported seeing the same objects that were photographed.
All right.
4 people reported seeing the aliens. 6 reported blue beams coming from the UFO, and 10 have reported periods of missing time.
Okay, how about you, Chief Brown? I take it you're not convinced.
No, sir, I'm not. We are have one of the busiest airspaces in the country, and not to say that all these people here are lying, not telling the truth. I firmly believe they are seeing something, because at any time or any place there's different lights, different things that you can see. Mm-hmm. What I don't believe is the things the local papers and the TV media has put out of a flying saucer with beings from another planet. I just simply don't believe that, Mike.
Okay, Dwayne, I guess you could say that you're the fellow responsible for stirring this up. Your paper has faithfully supported Ed's story, much to the consternation of many of your neighbors.
Well, I guess you could say we have stirred it up, Mike. But I really can't say I'm aware of any too much consternation. Most of Gulf Breeze really believes Ed's photographs and his story, just like they believe the 100+ other witnesses that have seen it, most of which are here tonight.
Reporter Mark Curtis in Pensacola has followed the saga of the Gulf Breeze UFO from the very beginning. What were your initial thoughts?
Mike, I was amazed at the detail and clarity of these photographs, but I was very skeptical. So we brought in some photographic experts to look at them, and none have been able to tell that these pictures are fakes. Also, Ed has taken 2 lie detector tests and passed them both. Aside from the pictures, though, this is the story of the witnesses and the people. Charlie Summerby and his wife Doris saw this object last November. Charlie, if you could tell us what you saw.
Well, it was right after sunset over East Bay. We saw this circular object. It was bluish-gray in color, and with light shining out through portholes. And the really amazing thing was, there was no sound.
Jesse and Alice Bertram, please join us. Jesse is a youngster here. He was playing with a friend last December. Tell us what you saw.
We were climbing a tree, and we saw a blackish-white object, and it was moving. Then it disappeared. We ran behind the Gulf Breeze Elementary School, and then we saw it moving again, then it disappeared.
Mrs. Bertram, what did you do? Did you believe these youngsters when they told you this?
No, I didn't. I'm a skeptic anyway, but I had them sit down at different ends of the table and draw what they saw, and the pictures were identical and they matched what were in the newspaper.
One of the most interesting sightings came from Jeff Thompson. Jeff, if you join us and tell us what you saw in the morning during the daylight on November 11th.
Yeah, it was November 11th at 8:10 in the morning. A UFO came within 400 feet of me at treetop level. I noticed 2 military jets were following it about 2 air miles. The UFO shot up at a 45-degree angle and waited for the jets to approach a little closer, and then in an instant it just shot straight up.
What happened to the jets, and are you sure they're military jets?
Yeah, they're military jets, I believe out of Eglin, because around here we just have the red and white Navy training jets, and they just, the military jets just kind of curved over the bay and went on back towards Eglin.
This may just be the tip of the iceberg. How many people in this room tonight have seen a UFO? Raise your hands, please.
Wow.
There you have it, Washington.
Okay, well, you keep watching Gulf Breeze because you'll find this next thing interesting. UFO cover-up worked closely with 2 of the nation's leading experts in photographic analysis in an attempt to shed some light on the photographs taken by the man called Ed. Dr. Robert Nathan has been with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for 16 years. During that time, he's exposed many UFO photos as hoaxes. Our staff gave Dr. Nathan several of the negatives in the hope that his advanced techniques in computer enhancement would shed some light on the controversy.
I'm not too comfortable with the Gulf Breeze photographs. I feel that many of these images are double exposure photographs. The craft in many of these images seems to be a different focus, that they're either more sharply focused or fuzzier than the surrounding background objects. The spacecraft appears to be rather bright. It's as if there is some kind of external light shining on it. The situation that would arise if the craft were in a room at an earlier time with room light shining from all directions. It seems that in quite a few of these pictures, the very top and bottom of the spacecraft are very sharply cut off, whereas the rest of the image is rather fuzzy, giving me the feeling that there was some kind of cut and paste onto some surface. It appears that with every photograph where this object appears, that it's against a relatively uniformly dark background, the kind that you need for double exposure. When you add 2 images together, you get the intensities added, and even though the portholes, if that's what they are, appear rather dark, they're never darker than the background sky. I've been chasing these UFO sightings for over 30 years. I would have liked to have said differently, but I'm afraid the Gulf Breeze photographs just don't check out.
Thank you, Dr. Nathan. Now, to make things perfectly clear, a man who takes a completely different view is Dr. Bruce Maccabee, an optical physicist working for the U.S. Navy who has explained many UFO photos in the past. Dr. Maccabee, you've spent hundreds of hours studying these images, and you've come to the conclusion that there's no hoax involved in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, Mike. Dr. Nathan has studied only a few of the photographs. I, on the other hand, have analyzed all the photographic evidence, which includes stereo photos that allowed me to calculate the distance and size of the UFO. I've also analyzed the videotape. I have asked myself, if the photographic evidence were a hoax, how was it done? I have considered many methods for creating trick photos. Each method can leave a characteristic flaw within a photo. And I have searched for such flaws. For example, I have looked above each UFO to see if there's a fine line indicating it was suspended by a string. I have looked below each image to see if there is any indication it was resting on a table or post. I have looked for reflections in glass, double exposures, and photographic montages. I have found that none of these methods had been used. Therefore, after many, many hours of analysis, I have found nothing in the photos which could refute the sighting reports. My opinion is that the photos are genuine and these crafts are not from here, unless there's some race other than the human race operating them.
Thank you, Dr. Maccabee, for your analysis. Well, you've seen the evidence and heard some conflicting opinions. What do you